forever. All right, good afternoon. Thanks for accommodating the change. First of all, we'll revisit the game on Sunday. Certainly after getting a chance to watch some film and getting a chance to evaluate, the game. Really proud of the effort. The players' effort was outstanding. What I liked about our team was their preparation. They were very well prepared for the game itself. Look, you have to finish off games, and this was a classic case of, a game that's in the balance at 17-13 with 8 minutes and 36 seconds to go, and you can take it from there. We go 3 and out, don't execute offensively on that series, and they go 3 plays and a score. We come back and certainly are able to get a good drive down the field, have a chance to get a run out, and we don't execute it properly, but get it to a point where we have to settle for a field goal and tie the game at 20. And then, give a little bit and get it down to 18 seconds left in the game, 2nd and 15 from the 47-yard line. And, we're in cover 2, and they hit a whole shot and make a big play, and then the subsequent targeting call that puts them in, a great position, where we're then left with, do you let them score? Do you use your timeouts? I think in either situation, we could have probably gone either way. We could have probably let them score or bowed up and used all of our 3 timeouts, and then they're kicking a field goal with no time left, and we're looking to make a block there. So, that's what we're left with. But again, I was proud of the effort individually. Nussmeier, 30 for 39, 300 yards. I thought he did a nice job. Mason Taylor had some big catches. Kyron Lacey obviously had the great first half. I already mentioned, he needs to touch the ball in all 4 quarters. Aaron Anderson, I thought, had a breakout game. He played with a great deal of confidence. It was nice to see that. Nice to see John Emery get some really big runs, and he's only going to get better coming off that knee surgery. Defensively, I thought we did some really good things, especially one of the things that was a difficult proposition for us last year was getting off the field. And, they were 3 of 9 on 3rd down situations. We created havoc at a high percentage, which we didn't do much of last year. I thought our secondary, our corners, did a nice job, PJ and Ashton in particular, battling and getting pass breakups. And Savion Jones, I thought, rushed the passer. He played with great effort and was disruptive. So, a lot of good things. Ramos with the 2 big field goals, it was loud in there, and I thought he did a great job once again. Aaron Burrell, as a true freshman coming in and having the touchbacks against a really talented return man. And I thought we did a really good job. Our punters really sacrificed their individual stats for positionally punting and putting the ball in a position where we could cover it. And indoors, you can blast that ball as far as you want, but then you got to go cover a very difficult return man. So I thought we were very efficient there. But, obviously what we learned is we've got to play with that sense of urgency for 4 quarters. We've got to finish games. And we've got to execute at a higher level and be much more disciplined. So, we've talked about it. We'll continue to grow in that area. And I'm excited to, get the page turned and get our team playing to win. And we've got another opportunity, and we do that against Nicholls State here in Tiger Stadium. 100th year of Tiger Stadium, and we're certainly going to be excited about that. We're very familiar with Nicholls State. They're a team that wins. 17 starters back from last year's team. Played La Tech really. I thought they did a great job. I mean, they had a number of turnovers, made it difficult for them all day. And it's a team that wins their conference championship. They're used to being in the playoffs. This is a defending conference champion. They know what it's like, and they play up when they get a chance. They've beaten BCS opponents before. They beat Kansas in 18. So they know what they're doing. This is a well-coached football team. Tim does a really good job. This is a great opportunity for them, and so we'll have to be very well prepared, and I know our guys will be. And so we're excited about the opportunity to be home for our first game this year, and look forward to the challenge. So with that, we'll open it to questions.
Coach, I understand the idea of, trying to lean on them a little bit late in the game, but did you feel like you took too much air out of the ball in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could look at, everything that we did when you don't win a football game and say, maybe we could have pushed the ball down the field. I think I made it clear that, Kyron Lacey is arguably our best offensive player, and he didn't get a touch. So, I mean, I think that's clearly something that, Joe and I talked about, and he understands that. He's a smart guy. I mean, we need to get our best players the ball when it means the most. And so, we've got to be better there in making sure that our players get the ball. And if that means pushing it down the field, we got to push it down the field too.
Thank you, Coach. Hey, Coach, maybe just a quick injury report, one, and then two, just how do you feel like the defensive tackles, held up in game one? That was obviously a big talking point coming into the season.
Well, the only disappointing news is Princeton Malbrew looks to have a serious knee injury. We're going to do a little bit more imaging on that today, but the initial imaging was not good, and so I think we'll have further. Owen would get to me here when I'm done with this press conference, but it was not good for a knee injury that happened on the kickoff that was returned after the penalty, which we've sent in to take a look at because it was what we thought was an egregious block in the back. But that would be one injury. Kyle Parker, as you know, did not play very much. I think he had a UCL, which is, I guess, the ulnar nerve. Looks to have been an injury that he's going to come back from, but we just don't know how quickly. So we would consider him right now doubtful for this weekend, but we'll see how that goes. Those were the most significant injuries. I think everything else is, probable in terms of we've got some bumps and bruises that will show up on the injury report tomorrow, but nothing that would exclude them for the game.
Hey, Coach. After the game, you said essentially that Miller Moss, I guess, outplayed Garrett Nussmeier.
That's not what I said. I said that Garrett Nussmeier played pretty good, but Moss made some more plays at the end.
Yes. So why do you believe that Moss?
Because he won.
Took an extra step.
They won.
Okay.
The winner of the game versus the guy that didn't win. So my comments were not to disparage Garrett Nussmeier. I just gave you his numbers. He was 30 for 39 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. My comments after the game were, how do you think Nussmeier played? I said he played pretty good, but the other kid played pretty good too, and they won the game. So this had nothing to do with Garrett Nussmeier not playing well. I think his numbers spoke for themselves. There's a couple of plays he left out there that he'd like back, and I'm sure there were a couple of plays that Moss left out there that he'd like back. He had, I think, 2 or 3 balls that were batted down that could have very easily been interceptions. I thought the kid played well, but our guy played very well either. So whatever my comments were, they were not intended in any way to disparage a guy that went 30 for 39 for 308 yards.
And I did want to ask about the running game. Has there been any thought about, maybe even creating a little bit more, I guess, diversity in the way you run the ball, maybe running under center or just creating a little bit more of a diverse scheme?
What would you like us to do? What, I'm just asking. We run counter, we run tackle pull. I think what you're really getting to is we have to be more efficient with our running game. And I don't know that it's a particular play, Koki, as much as where I sit and what I want is when it's third down and everybody knows you want to run it, let's be creative in running the football, but let's execute at a high level. And we didn't execute at the level we're capable of executing. Our O-line knows that, but we got to put our players in a good position. This is not just on our players. This is on coaching as well. But I don't know that it's a particular scheme as much as it is we've got to make sure that we're putting our guys in a good position. We can't be predictable. And I think that that's probably more than anything else what we got to make sure of, because we've got every running play under the sun. Whether we're running pull, whether we're running inside zone, outside zone, counter, toss to the outside, we ran all of those plays. We just have to be better when our best is needed in those tough situations. And we weren't in some instances, and we've got to be better.
Hey, Coach Kelly, I know it's a long way from now, but how does the team handle the pressure knowing that they have to be nearly perfect to have a chance at qualifying for the college football playoffs? Yeah,
that's not even something that we would consider. We're really focused on what our process is and getting back to that. Our guys prepare themselves as well as any team that I've had. Our preparation is outstanding. But preparation does not get you to win games. What gets you to win games is playing to win. And at times, we did the things that you need to do to win. It's just you have to do them consistently. And we have to coach that way, and we have to play that way. And as I said, USC is a much improved football team. Their quarterback played very well. They had, obviously a really good plan, and the game was tied with 18 seconds to go. We need to finish. We need to make a couple more plays late in the game and finish. I thought we started well. I thought our attention was really good, our effort and enthusiasm, but you got to finish these games off. And so playing with a sense of urgency and practicing and putting in the time and sticking with our process, this is going to be a good football team. But we got to understand that it takes 72, 80, 90, 100 plays, and you got to stick with it. You can't let your guard down for 1 second.
Yeah, Brian, how do you teach killer instinct? How do you do that?
Look, I think it happens when you put in the work, and it means so much that you just, under no circumstances, can you let somebody take it away from you. And so you just can't let complacency come in at any time. And I'm not saying that we were complacent, but you just have to continue to build a mindset amongst your guys that the focus is on dominating that play. And we're still working on that every single day about dominating the play that's in front of us. And sometimes we get outside of that and we start thinking big picture and the game is over, or if we get one more stop, forget about one more stop. Think about this play right now. And we're still building that with our group. And it's kind of like the Kyron Layson penalty. Kyron's working on his emotional control. If you were here, that young man, I love him because he's working on that every day. That wasn't like malice. That wasn't like it. It's just, he is such a high-strung young man that's all he works on. He's in the locker room saying, I need to maintain my emotional control. I need to maintain it. He is working so hard on that. That's why I was so angry. I was angry at the circumstances because he's working on it. Same thing with Major Burns. I mean, he was so apologetic and so sorry that he took his helmet off. These aren't guys that are just like, I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. These guys are working so hard at it. That's why I want so much for them. You know, it just angers me that we're not getting that break where these kids are putting so much into it. I mean, we had the ball on the ground 5 times. I mean, like, really? It just was frustrating to me that these guys are working so hard, and we're going to get there, and we're going to break through, and you guys will see that.
Coach, right over here to your left. I know we talked about injuries, just an update on Chris Hilton, and then you mentioned some other guys, too, that kind of did play well, Aaron Anderson, Xavion Thomas, and with Kyle Parker being out, what does that maybe look like in terms of increased production and opportunities?
Yeah, and I was proud of Zion. I thought he obviously gives us a new dimension in kickoff return. You know, he's, picking his foot up a little bit more on the kickoff return, or we probably open the game with a kickoff return for a touchdown. He's dangerous on punt return, which gets everybody's attention in the film room when we're watching, punt return. Our gunners got to do a great job, and Vicer's got to do a great job. Anyway, I thought he did a good job as a receiver, made a big catch for us late in the game, ran great routes, but we've got to get another guy ready. And the guy that we've got to get ready is Shelton Sampson. I mean, he's got to be able to play for us, and we got to get him on the field. And so this is a big week for him, and the next week's coming up. He's got to get in our rotation. If we can get him in our rotation, it allows us to slide some people around. So he becomes kind of a focal point for us moving forward. And, these comments obviously are going to be viral, right? I mean, Coach, but the reality of it is he's important to us, and we got to get him going. Yeah, I mean, he's ground-based running, but receiver's different. Like, if he was an old lineman, he's playing, I mean, if he's at a different position, he's probably playing. But this is getting, a kid that is an elite player and elite speed guy, getting him right where he feels really comfortable that he can get in and out of breaks. So we'll kind of see how he goes through the week. I want to make sure he's 100% before we put him back out there. So we'll kind of see, how he goes, and we'll probably have a better report on him as we get through the week.
Hey, Coach, you said post-game just how defensively there's still some warts, some things that y'all got to get better. After watching the tape, what were some of those things that you think identifying moving forward you really got to clean up as you get into the rest of your schedule?
I could talk about the things that I really liked. First, we got really good play from our defensive tackle position. Very consistent play. We got depth play at the defensive end position. Really good play there. I liked our linebacker play, and I liked our corners. We've got to get more production at the safety position. It's got to be better for us. So production there is key for us moving forward. I would say that's the area that we need to see more production from.
Coach, do you think you have the right rotation at your running back spot? And do you like Caleb Jackson at 235, or is he maybe a little heavy?
That's a good question about his weight. We looked at it, and his conditioning level is outstanding. He was not at that. He was about 235 in the spring, and we thought he was too heavy because he wasn't able to maintain a high level of workload. And all through the summer and camp, his workload was outstanding at 235. And he was hitting 21.5 in terms of speed. So, he's a physical back with 21. We were like, let's go. So we feel like we've hit the right weight with him. In terms of rotation, I don't know that we have one. I think we have to continue to let this thing play out. Obviously, John did a lot of really good things. Josh does a really, nice job in the things that we're asking. I think what we're down to is, as John continues to play, he's coming off an ACL. You're going to see him get better and better, and I think he just adds to the strength of the group. But I also think we've got to find ways to accentuate the strengths of each one of these backs. They're not all inside zone runners. They're not all guys that run a particular play well, and I think that's what we're kind of navigating now.
I'll preface by saying I understand risk reward, but just could you expand on your philosophy of when you win the toss, taking it first, and then staying aggressive and going for it on fourth down when you have a chance?
Yeah, so, part of it obviously is the analytics play a role in it. So going forward on, 4th and 3, the analytics gave us a high percentage there of scoring a touchdown. So that was one of the reasons there for going for it. In terms of receiving the kickoff, that is a personal preference of scoring first. The team that scores first has a higher percentage of winning games. So I've always carried that philosophy with me throughout my career of wanting to go on offense first. Now, I know a lot of people want to defer, get the ball in the third quarter, and I totally understand that, and there's certain situations that I would do that in wanting to put our defense on the field first. But I felt like our offense was the group that I wanted to see first, and so that's why we made that decision. Had nothing to do with the analytics in that situation. Does that answer the question? Yes.
Brian, I know football scheduling is not something that is not a train that stops easily, but is it time to look at how you guys open the season, maybe with a week 0 game or maybe with someone that's not a ranked team? And I know you got Clemson home and home the next 2 years, and you probably can't do anything about that, but in the future.
I don't think so. I mean, look, we're going to be a better football team. I wanted to win the game. Our whole state wants to win the game. Everybody that follows LSU wants to win the football game. But we're going to be a better football team because of what happened. It would have been better if we won the game. Our margin now is a razor-thin margin when you lose a football game like this. But, we're developing a football team, and this was important. I understand that. But we're going to be better as a football team going into week 2. We know a lot more about our football team. We know about what we need to do better as coaches, and as a development of a football team. I don't necessarily think the opener winning it 73-0 gives you much benefit. You go into week 2 with a lot of questions about who you are. I got a good feeling about this football team. This is going to be a good football team. We got some work to do, but we're going to get this team to the point where we're balanced in all 3 phases. We're going to complement. We did not complement very well, but when we complement each other offensively and defensively, it's going to be a good football team.
Brian, how did you think the offensive line did, and DJ in particular, with his first time with that group?
I thought DJ played very well. I've really liked his communication. We had the one time where he moved the ball, but overall, snaps were really good for his first time in there. It was really loud, louder than I thought it would be in those situations. So given the circumstances of his first start, the D lineman over him was pretty stout, and he handled the guy on his nose a lot. That is a lot for a first-time starter, and I thought he handled himself. We put him in some tough positions too, and we learned from that we have to be better in terms of what we asked him to do. I think offensive line, they were outstanding in protection. I mean, really, really good. I think there's some things that we would like to do better schematically up front, and they'll be better for it, but it's a good unit. It's a really good unit.
With John Emery in the running game, what was he able to do in the second half that sort of unlocked the running game for a second there? Is it something about his style? I was just curious about that.
Well, I think a couple of things. I think, first of all, as the game kind of wore on, we were getting a little bit more coverage. Early on, we got a lot of bare front, aggressive fronts, a lot of man coverage, a lot of loaded boxes, tougher looks. We got a lot more cover two, a lot more zone, high safeties, more favorable looks. And then he's got good vision in the hole. His strength is his vision. I know he's a big back, and we see him as this battering ram kind of guy, but John's got really good vision. And the thing that he needs to continue to develop is the strength in the lower body. He gets fatigued easily, and as he continues to come back from that knee, he's going to be able to take multiple carries. Multiple carries for him, he definitely, starts to slow down a little bit. But vision, and we were getting some better looks, some favorable looks relative to running the football later in the game.
Ryan, right here.
Yes.
First time out, but what did you make of Blake's utilization of Harold Perkins, and what did you like about what you've seen on film? Are there some things that you'd like to see improve or maybe a little different?
Well, I like him where he is, right? I like him inside the core of our defense. I think what Blake talked to him about and what Blake and I talked about is we need to get him to narrow his focus a little bit more. And when I say narrow his focus, he has a tendency that he wants to do a little bit too much. He's so eager to want to make plays because we've put him in that playmaker position, so much. When you work in the kind of areas that he works, your focus has to narrow down a lot more. And so continue to work on narrowing his focus, getting his eyes trained in a different way will be the big improvement we see from week 1 and week 2. And I know you've heard this cliche tons of times, but the team's biggest improvements are made from week 1 to week 2. And I'm going to say that you're going to see a huge improvement now that he's played in the box in a game, and we can get his focus narrowed and get his eyes to where they need to be. His eyes were like that, and they need to be so much more focused. Once we get that, it's going to be a bit of a different look, and I think that's going to help him immensely.
You touched on Mason Taylor, just how pivotal he was and can be this year. And I also saw you rolled out the 3 tight end set. What do you like about that look?
Well, I thought Mason played very well. I mean, we need to continue to develop his blocking in space. We want to continue to do that because he's going to get some opportunities in space to block for us. But he caught the ball well. He ran after the catch. That's huge for us. So he's going to be a very, very big weapon for us. 2 and 3 tight ends, that package needs to continue to grow. We have to be able to use it as an offensive weapon as well. We can't just put 2 tight ends on the field and say, we're running the ball. It's got to be 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends on the field, and we've got to have some spacing and some vertical throws and things of that nature. So that's growing, and that has to grow here over the next, month or so. Great. Thank you.